What's up, everybody? We're back again with another episode of the Mal with the Mike podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about how the New York Knicks basically finessed the NBA. Before we get started, just want to mention, don't forget, we are also on Spotify, so if you can't tune on here, go over there and go listen to our podcast. Thank you guys for watching, and let's get started. So like I said, we're talking to the Knicks today, and they obviously, as most of you know, made two humongous trades over the offseason. Towards the beginning of free agency, they traded for Mikal Bridges, 6 first-round picks. It was a huge deal. Some people saw it as an overpay, but the Knicks liked the fit, so Mikal Bridges to the Knicks. And then right before preseason began, towards the beginning of training camp as well, they made a huge blockbuster trade for Karl Anthony Towns, a trade they've been trying to make for the last 2-3 years, it seems. So they sent Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and coming into preseason, they had a completely different roster than they had last year. They lost Isaiah Hartenstein, they brought in Cameron Payne, a bunch of different puzzle pieces, but nobody knew if those puzzle pieces would go together. So the projected starting lineup would have been Brunson, Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns, already seen as one of the best starting lineups in the NBA before the season even started. And throughout the first 10 to 15 games, there was a lot of doubt and there was a lot of criticism towards what New York had done so far. And as a Knicks fan who watches every single game from start to finish, I will account to that. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh yeah, I believe from the beginning. No, that first 10, 15 games didn't look so good. It was a lot of inconsistency. The defense from October to the middle of November was just completely horrendous. And it was a lot of win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. Like I said, that inconsistency. The offense, however, looked strong from, the first day that they got together. We knew that. But would that starting lineup be cohesive? Would Thibodeau figure out how to move his pieces around, figure out how to use these guys? And again, like I said, that first 10 to 15 games kind of, left a lot of Knicks fans worried, a lot of analysts, thinking were these two trades a bust? So obviously after that first 10 to 15 games, they started to get things going. And December has been one of the best months of Knicks basketball that I have watched in my entire life. This last 3 weeks, last month, has been absolutely unbelievable. The defense has stepped up to be one of the top 10 in the league. And that's something we expected when those trades happened. Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, they were calling it wing stop. I mean, we expected to see a good defense, and that first 10, 15 games kind of, showed some doubt on that. But I think defense is the side of the ball that's the most about chemistry. And a lot of people may think offense with assists, but defensively, everyone has to be on the same page. You need to be able to stick your man, and you need to be able to make sure that somebody else is covered. It's so many different things going on at the same time, and that's obviously something you have to work on, and that's obviously something that comes along through playing games with a unit. And this Knicks team, a stat I saw the other day, I believe they have the most starting minutes out of any starting 5 in the league. So they've built that chemistry, and we're now seeing it throughout the court, on the court. Through our first 30 games, they're 20-10, a really great record. They're a 3rd seed in the East, and they're coming up on Boston, who's dropped a couple games lately. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there with the standings and how the rest of the season plays out. But the thing I want to get into most is the tight lock fit that Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns have brought to this Knicks team, and we now know that they were the correct puzzle pieces. We'll talk about Cat first because he blossomed the second he stepped on the court for New York. Mikal Bridges took his time. We'll get into that. But the way Karl Anthony Towns has been able to improve the Knicks spacing is just absolutely unbelievable. I feel like as soon as he came to New York, his play changed. He became a little bit more of a physical player, and he's something I did not know. He's an extremely underrated passer. So I feel like in general, Towns' ability and talent has evolved once he came to New York. And he's just flourishing in an offense where he has so many things around him that he can, use to his advantage. And that's helped other guys like Brunson, Anunoby, Hart. Anunoby and Hart both having career years. And that obviously comes off of Towns and Brunson. Towns leads the league in rebounds. Like I said, I did not know he was this good of a rebounder. You look at some of his past stats, like 12 per game, 11 per game. He's up near 14 per game this year, leads the NBA in rebounds per game. And over the last couple of weeks, obviously in December, we've seen him get up towards 18, 19, 20, 22. He had 22 and 22 versus the Magic, who they played today again, obviously. So Karl Anthony Towns has been an absolute godsend for this Knicks team. The three-point shooting ability obviously has improved their spacing. And another thing I want to talk about it again, the passing ability. We have seen so many times where Towns is at the top of the key and he's got all these pieces moving around. He's sitting there. He's stationary. He's not moving. Boom, this way. Boom, this way. Boom, this way. So he just knows where to move the ball. The ball runs through him. If there is one thing we have to critique, it's his defense, which has improved as the season has gone on. And that's something, like I said, as a team, the defense has improved as the season has progressed. But he consistently is getting into foul trouble. A lot of times you'll see him towards the end of the game around 4 or 5, sometimes even 6 fouls. He's fouled out this season before. So Towns needs to work on staying out of foul trouble, being able to stand his ground in the paint versus bigger bigs. Obviously, how much bigger can you get than Towns? But like we saw on Christmas, Wemby kind of had his own way. Towns got towards foul trouble towards the end of the game, and he was only able to come in with the last, I believe it was a minute and a half. So we're gonna need him towards the end of the game. So him staying out of foul trouble is extremely crucial. But overall, Towns has been an A+, trade, 100 out of 10. There's literally very small things you can critique about his first 30 games in New York, averaging 25, 14, and around 4 assists. So Karl Anthony Towns, got to give it to him. He's been amazing. Now, a more interesting situation, Mikal Bridges. Bridges came in with a lot of expectations, considering we gave up 6 first-round picks for him. And that's an unfathomable amount of first-round picks. But the Knicks felt the fit was great. So everybody sat tight, took a deep breath, and said, in Leon we trust. He's going to, do good for us. He's going to fit well. He has the chemistry with Brunson and Hart. Him and OG Anunoby are going to be absolutely filthy on the defensive end. So we came into the season with those types of expectations. High expectations for this Knicks team, specifically Mikal Bridges. And the first, I'd say, 10 to 15 games like this Knicks team, Mikal Bridges was really bad. Really bad. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I believe from the beginning. I was one of those people who were saying, was this trade really worth it? From the person he was to Brooklyn, and that first 10 to 15 games in New York was a complete drop-off, specifically defensively. Night in and night out, he was seeming as if he was a liability on defense. He was having trouble guarding a team's best player, and oftentimes he was having trouble getting around screens, which is something he's been extremely good at in the past. But Mikal Bridges, sure not, turned it up in the last 10, 15 games and has been absolutely amazing. Josh Hart was talking about the other day, I filled out that apology letter. I'm contemplating sending it to Mikal Bridges, sending it to his, I don't know if he has a P.O. box or anything. But I'm genuinely contemplating that because a lot of us owe him an apology. He's been extremely efficient on offense, extremely efficient, specifically in that Christmas game. If you guys watched, I mean, he literally could not miss. Could not miss. And oh my God, that mid-range. Like, the main struggle was the three-pointer, and that tied a lot into, people seeing him change his shot. So the criticism was already there. But his mid-range, from the beginning of the season, the first 10, 15 games, he struggled from three. But from the beginning of the season, that mid-range has been absolutely despicable. Like, it's automatic. It's automatic. And the way he plays is just it's so smooth. He just, he plays a slow game, which I really like. Slow game. He takes his time. He gets to a spot. Boom. Midi. Boom. Midi. Boom. Midi. And then a lot of times when it's from three, kick out to the corner, Bridges three. And he has a very, very quick release. Unbelievable the last 10, 15 games. He's up around 18 points per game, our third scorer. And that's something that I really like the Knicks. They're balanced. We have 6 players with double-digit points, with scoring double-digit points this year. Cam Payne is 7th. If you want to add him, he's up around 8. He's been really good. But this Knicks team, the chemistry is there now as they've, gotten their first 30 games. They're looking like a dominant team, a team to be reckoned with, and things are looking scary in New York, boys. Well, everybody, thank you guys for watching this episode of Mal with the Mic. Like I said, if you can't watch on here, go check me out on Spotify. I hope you guys are liking these types of episodes. Me just talking about a topic that I really enjoy and I really like talking about. We're going to have a couple guests within the next couple of weeks. Obviously, my 49ers are not making it to the playoffs, but that doesn't mean I won't bring the playoff content. I hope to have someone who I believe has the best football knowledge that I've ever spoken with on the podcast within the next couple weeks. So make sure you guys tune in for that. This is Mal with the Mic. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Peace!